Hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to our 10:15 session. It's okay to just be okay, navigating the PI journey. My name is Megan Messick, Director of Education at the Immune Deficiency Foundation, and I am so incredibly honored to moderate this panel discussion this morning. So this is going to be a 45-minute discussion, and we are hoping to have some time for audience questions and engagement if we're able to at the end of our program. But before we get started, I just want to share a couple of disclaimers, and then I'm happy to introduce our panelists for this session. The first is just to note that this session is not intended to be medical advice. Please always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider. And here at the Immune Deficiency Foundation, we offer a wide variety of educational programs, including content that's developed by healthcare and life management professionals. Similar to any session that you've been to, the views and opinions expressed by our guest speakers don't necessarily reflect the views and opinions of IDF. But I'm happy to announce our presenters for today, and I'll ask you guys just to give me a little hand raise when I get to you so the audience members know who's who. Our first is Stacy A. Ahern, who is a retired critical care registered nurse and a leader, I like that, you guys good in there, and a leader of IDF's Arizona Get Connected group. Our second is William Bluen, who is a pediatric nurse practitioner at the Allergy and Immunology Care Center of South Florida and is a consultant in private practice, as well as serving on IDF's Nurse Advisory Committee. And then our third panelist is Cindy Kutchell-Kissick, who just at 9 years old, guys, was the second person in the world to undergo human gene therapy. She's an occupational therapy practitioner. You guys are going to be fun with me this morning. She's an occupational therapy in the home health and pediatric fields and an outreach coordinator for a nonprofit mental health organization. So let me tell you, when tackling the very necessary and critical conversation of mental health, these people are the leaders that we need on stage with us this morning. The emotional intelligence of this group and continues to amaze me, and I'm so honored to have them talk through this morning. And I also want to ask something of our audience as a little point to help us continue to bring unity to experiences that can be so isolating. So I want to ask you, if you feel so moved today by something that one of our panelists say, to give me a snap. Can you practice with me? Give me a snap. So that our presenters can feel that you've shared that experience, that the person beside you knows you have been there, and we can leave here feeling a little bit differently about where we sit in our seats than we may at the beginning of this conversation. So give us some snaps. Maybe I'll snap too if I'm feeling so inclined, but we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is the experience of navigating healthcare in a world where people very much think our health is linear, right? We go to a healthcare professional's office and they ask this really black and white question, are you okay? And you're like, yes, no, maybe. What's the in-between for me? So I wanted to start by asking our group, in living this black and white world, how do you all navigate conversations with your care team, your own family, your network about what you're experiencing when, for many, they just are looking for the yes-no answer?
You want me to begin that? I'll begin that. I'll begin that. I was being looked at, so I'll be the one to talk about this. So for me, as an adult now, it's a lot easier to explain what I'm going through, and I'm better able to advocate for myself. When I was a child, I was very fortunate to have amazing parents to help me, but I still didn't really want to talk about it. I was very apprehensive about being very honest with the team because I think I was a kid. I was afraid. I didn't know what to say. I soon got out of that because I realized that no one knows how I feel but me. And so when a doctor's asking, hey, are you doing okay? How are you feeling? I'm like, well, how much time do you have? Okay? And I go more into the specifics of my mental health, my physical health, my social health, everything kind of all-encompassing, because if they're asking me how I'm doing, I'm going to let them know where I'm having these problems. But it took a while to get to that point, and now I'm better able to express how I'm feeling, because I don't really care if I'm feeling judged. I'm more like, I just need you to know what's going on with me. That's more important to me.
I could not agree more. We've got about, 12 to 13 minutes to cram it all in. And I make a list. I'm a list person. I've got so much on my plate, I need to clear a little room so I can go down each thing. What is so important? It was kind of like in the session right before. Let's talk about it. What symptoms, what infections, what is not under control? What do I need to take care of first and foremost? And I'd love to have that 90-second conversation too, but I only got 12 minutes, so I have to find a way to balance those both. Always be polite, be honest, be persistent. It's your time, you deserve this care. The physicians literally went to school and paid thousands of dollars to take care of us. They're in this with us, they're on our side. Use your resources.
As a provider, it's really kind of a weird circumstance because you are on that very much of a time-focused circumstance. And before I even get into the room to see somebody, there's been a medical assistant who's come in who's asked you, what are you here for? Did you fall? Are you having any mental health issues? Do you have any allergies? And you go through this list of things, and you've told the first person that comes in what's going on. And then maybe somebody else comes in and they ask you the same things again. And you feel like you're sort of playing telephone. By the time you get to the physician or the provider who's there, who you think has gotten this whole story, I mean, they sort of probably haven't. And if you don't open your mouth, if you don't try and engage that person, you need to get the provider in the eye and get their face away from the computer screen so that they get to see you as a person. And don't try and please them by saying, oh, everything is okay. You need to have on the top of your list all the things that aren't okay or the concerns that you have. And I agree with you. It's like, write it down, have a list, and sit there and say, excuse me, I don't understand what you've said. Please explain it to me. And if you've engaged your provider, then they are going to interact because we are really driven to take care of people. But if you don't throw out your hooks, then the pressure of who you got to see next and how many patients are scheduled and how many patients are double booked is going to sort of interfere. So you really have to try and engage your provider, get to know them some way or another, and really open up about what it is that you truly need in that circumstance.
And advocacy has been a big theme for many of our sessions, actually for the session that was in the room before this. So making sure that we're making the list, as Stacy said, we're advocating for ourselves, we're making those needs known. And then there's the moment where you've done a great job, right? And you're on the car drive home. And there's I guess the question I want to know is, how are you all making peace with the news you've shared, with the experiences that perhaps you had a great conversation, but perhaps there's also the moments that weren't exceptional and news that was challenging. What are the tips that you can share with our audience on making peace, kind of in reference to our title, with the moments that are just okay, the moments that are not exceptional, the conversations that were challenging, and now you're sitting alone in the car and you're wondering what's next?
Okay, so I can take this one. This one's really, really important to me. I have days where I'm just okay. Sometimes I'm just not okay, but I embrace that. I don't want to put this facade on like everything's roses and ponies and I'm, running through this happy field, because in real life, things might not always be awesome. That is something that I have learned to do as I've gotten older. But I mean, honestly, even when I was a kid, I was like, I just need a break. My mom would set a timer for me, and this was like a brilliant idea at the time when I was a child. I have ADHD, I have a lot of other mental health conditions, but the one thing I always needed to know what was going to happen before it happened. And my mom would set a timer for me, and she said, okay, you have 2 minutes to go and do whatever you want before a procedure. And then at that 2 minutes, when this timer goes off, you have to come back in the room and we have to get your treatment done. So I would play around for 2 minutes, and then I would come back in. She's like, okay, now you have 1 minute to just get ready and prepare yourself for what's coming. And then this is like a 5-year-old kid, and I have taken that with me to this day, where now I'm like, okay, listen, you've got like 2 minutes to freak out and be upset and do your thing, and then after that, all right, now we got to compose ourselves and figure out how we're going to express what we're feeling to our loved ones or to our friends, or honestly, just to kind of recollect our thoughts.
Well said. This disease is hard. We need to normalize having rough days. Like you said, it's not puppy dogs and ice cream all the time. There is no shame in chronic illness. It's nobody's fault. Things happen. We're human beings. And when I have a really rough day, or I'm just not feeling it or feeling the love, I'm like, what do I need to do today to turn it around? What do I need to do to make this day better? Do I need a nap? I might need a snack. Do I need to call my doctor because I'm getting really sick again? Do I need to talk to somebody? Mental health is so important. Journal, go outside, get some fresh air, or just be done. Say, you know what? I'm gonna get a good night's sleep. Maybe I'll try again tomorrow. Everything's gonna be okay. It's just gonna cycle just like grief does. And everything's eventual. You will get to the end of that grief cycle, and there'll be, brighter days, but you have to work really hard in our community to get there. So really ask yourself, what do you need to do just to get through today?
I think it really is very important to be able to accept the fact that sometimes life just sucks. Excuse me. And that's the way it is. I mean, we live in sort of a series of random events, and we can deal with them one way or the other. You can face them positively or negatively. We have to, I think it's important to accept the negativity and not be afraid of it. I mean, we have this culture where everything's got to be perfect, everything's got to be positive, everything's got to be rosy. And it's not, but I guess it's a balance between recognizing and accepting the negativity, recognizing and accepting the rougher parts of life that come along with our illness, but not being overwhelmed by them, but accepting and not denying them. Because if you deny them, then they only become more powerful and they only haunt you more. And it's a mindset, and I guess sort of the older you get, the easier it is to accept the negativity. When you're fresh in a diagnosis, it's a whole lot more difficult because all of a sudden your entire life has been changed by this one thing. It's not like you broke your arm and it's going to be fixed in a while. This is going to be part of your life. And as it's been said repeatedly since we've been here, we're not our diseases. Our diseases are something that we have to live with, but we are ourselves, and we have to be able to make the most of the life that we've got in whatever kind of limits there are.
My wheels are turning right now because I've heard a couple things I really want to get into, which is, the first, Stacy, I was hearing you talk about ways in which you can heal in the unexceptional moments, the journaling. I also think about the power of community, your role in our Get Connected groups, and really leading into our friends and our network in that moment. And we do a lot of that virtually. And then I hear William talk about this perfectionism, which, as we know, is really has created a culture within our social media where everyone who's posting on Instagram, on Facebook, it's the picture perfect, it's the filter. So we're navigating this digital world where we rely so much on that space for our connectivity, but it's also the thing that can become isolating when we see this picture perfect every time, the person who does X, Y, and Z and always has it all. Where do we fit in the balance, guys? Like, how are we prioritizing mental health and the polar ends of social media sometimes being to our detriment, but sometimes being the thing that gets us through. Where do you all see yourselves in this?
I have a difficult love-hate relationship with social media. I think that it's very, excuse me, very important. I think that it's very helpful when you find the right resources that you need, when you can find them. But I also think too that I compare myself to everyone. I have done this since I was a kid. So if that's you, please snap. Come on now. I know there's more of you out there. That is literally the biggest problem I have with social media, is that I'm comparing my insides to someone else's outsides. I know we've all heard that, but it's genuinely true. So I have to sometimes take that break. I have to detox from this social media. And honestly, I'm not really on like I used to be. I don't really scroll around anymore. I have to do it for my other job. I'm an outreach coordinator for a mental health company, so I have to put out there, mental health, quotes and, different types of programming, and that to me, I have to make sure that I'm not then scrolling and comparing and worrying. But I think that if you're able to find that balance, I think there's an amazing amount of information out there. But you might need to take a break, and that's okay too. Taking a break is a great idea.
I could not agree more with the statement, social media is a blessing and a curse. Like, my friends and family know I have a chronic illness. And if I post that I'm looking okay, they're like, she was never sick in the first place. Or I post and it's not such a good day and I'm looking kind of rough and a little mangy, and they're like, she's not handling this illness well at all. So I'm like, I cannot win this one. So in the end, I just decided, when I go on social media, whatever platform, do I really need to be on here today? Is this going to benefit me? Am I in a good mental place to look at how maybe I got left out again? It's not FOMO. I actually got not invited because I was sick or recovering or feeling kind of tired or actually did something fun. So I'm always walking that line with social media, and I think it's hard because sometimes I feel I'm not doing enough to keep up with healthy, normal people, and I'm like, Stacy, that's not you anymore. That's your old life. Post on your new life. Let it bring you joy, happiness, and reconnections with the people who chose you, whether you were sick or well. So I'm going to use it for that. Please don't get medical advice on social media. Please talk to your doctor. I felt like I had to say that. Please do.
I guess we're all sort of in that, love and hate relationship with social media. I mean, I went off the news channels and cut the cable a couple of years ago because I just couldn't handle all of the programming that was coming that was telling me I was supposed to feel one way or another. And I think that that's one of the risks with social media is, you're influenced to feel one way or another. And, it's like we all do ourselves better than anyone else does. I had some issues with my own state of health, and I discovered that it was, I'd go out and walk the dog and have my, ear pods in and listen to music and sort of, go walking around. And I discovered that I felt a whole lot better when I took the ear pods out and I walked the dog and I listened to the birds and I looked at the trees and I actually talked to the trees and got advice. We're all alive and we're all living in a real world, and the medical issues that we have are really real issues. They inhabit the house that we're living in, and I think it's important to find some comfort with that house and kind of keep it up. Get time, get exercise, get peace, get fresh air, eat well, do those kind of things, and it really does help to recharge you and get you out of that mindset of like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this, I'm never going to be able to do that, I'm never going to be able to be like everyone else, I'm not going to be able to do all those things. It's like, well, fine. There are things that you can do, that I can do, that no one else is going to be able to do. And there's no one else living in here but me. So I need to be comfortable in my house. So I think that, it's great to get information from social media. It's great to get information from Dr. Google, but make sure that you're Dr. Googling the right place. But balance that with reality and with the people that are your real world providers and your real world friends and your real world family, the ones who truly care about you.
Thank you all for those answers. And the things I want to pull out that I heard you say is, the importance of the balance. No Dr. Google. This is a great time to tell you about primaryimmune.org, and we're happy to help you with any question that you have. You don't have to go to Dr. Google, but the balance of, and Stacey, I thought you said this quite well, of, the day that you post everything is fine, you lean into this world that many of our community members experience of the invisible illness. And that's so important too, to think about how that works for you all. And I guess, what I'm wondering is, some advice for our audience that they can take with them and leaving them with the living in the now. And that's what I've heard kind of each of you say in your own answers and talking to the trees and being present is how are you living for the now? And how are you planning for the future?
So I really like this idea of mindfulness. I don't really like, okay, so let me rephrase that. I don't like the word mindfulness because it kind of makes me irky. I don't know why. But I like the idea of staying in the present and staying in the now. But I do have goals for my future. And I didn't have that before when I was sick. I honestly didn't know how long I was going to be alive at the time. So I wasn't sure if I was allowed to plan for my future. But living in the now, so first let me just preface this by saying I don't like deforestation. I don't like cutting down trees. However, this is a very good euphemism. So I was told by someone that if you're going to cut down an oak tree, you're not just going to take it at the base, right? You're not going to take this big chain. I mean, the oak trees are huge. You're not going to take this chainsaw at the base. You're going to go one branch at a time until you're able to get to the bottom of this tree and cut it down and use it for firewood and something healthy and safe and not just cut it down. But I've taken that with me, so I have a goal to, let's say, open my own practice for occupational therapy. Well, I'm not just going to all of a sudden be like, hey, I'm going to open this practice. There's a lot of steps that I have to take. If I want to start a family, my husband and I are talking about starting a family. Well, we're not just going to go out and say, hey, we're just going to buy this baby, right? We have to go through the adoption process. There's a lot of things to do. And it can be daunting and it can be scary, but I think that living in the moment with this mindfulness type of mentality, which if we do have time at the end, I have a whole mindfulness little activity that if we don't have time to do it, then see me after and we'll do it together in the corner, because it's really fun. It's straight up really fun. But I think that's it. Living in the now is very important, to smell the roses and listen to the trees and get their advice, because it really is very, very healthy for you to do that.
I want to take a minute to pull out one of the phrases you say, because it really hit me strongly, which is, I didn't know I was allowed to plan. Has anyone in the audience ever felt that way? Hands, snaps, right? And that is something I hear all the time when working with our community members, is that I didn't know. I didn't know, so I didn't plan, and now it's happening, and where do I go now? And thank you so much for your vulnerability and bringing that real emotion that many have shared with me to our audience today. Stacey.
Amazing. If I can leave you with one sentence, you did not come this far just to get this far. We are not a disease. We are not a pre-existing condition. We are human beings with amazing lives. And there's no reason that can't continue. I really want you to learn that it's okay to enjoy those good days. Yeah, we're going to tolerate the bad ones so we can enjoy the good ones. And I'm a list person, if you couldn't tell. So number one on my list on January 1st is to make a bucket list. What do I want to do this year? And then on my good days, I just start going through and checking off my bucket list. So this year, my first thing was do a shark cage dive in Hawaii. And I got to check that off last month, and it was amazing. I'm like, you did something with your good day.
Yeah,
and then
you
I
can
had
clap. This is yes.
And then I had to go lay down because I was so tired after swimming with them, thinking I didn't hear the music and Jaws might get me. Okay, so that was amazing. And bucket list number 2 was speak at this convention.
Yeah, you guys do too, right?
So
You're all here.
Check off those lists and do good things on your good days so you can tolerate the bad ones. And it's okay, like you said, to, Cindy, plan for the future. I didn't realize I didn't do that back in the day when I first got diagnosed. And now that hope and resilience helps me enjoy my bucket list and my good days and my family. So you're more than this disease. Just keep going.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, when you first get diagnosed with a chronic illness, it's like, okay, I'm dead. You know, one of the first things I
Thank
did
you,
was,
William.
was
Want a protein shake?
contact the Neptune Society and make the appropriate
Oh my
arrangements
gosh.
so that my family wouldn't be stuck with like a $10,000 or $15,000 funeral bill when I could get it for $1,500 and be cremated and thrown into the ocean or under a tree. So, but that's sort of an immediate response, and I think that's a normal response to something that is so profoundly life-changing. And then, you know, and I'm sharing some, in my talk with the trees when I thought that I was going to be dead, the tree said to me, his name is Gus, he's a beautiful poplar, and he said to me, Twig, that's what he calls me, the earth supports us, the water nourishes us, the sun illuminates us, and the air connects us. We are life. And I think that's so important. We are life, we are alive, we are all connected. We are living in the now. Tomorrow's gone, tomorrow's not here, yesterday is gone. And we have to plan. You know, plan for today, plan for a good day tomorrow, plan to go to wherever it is that you want to go to while you're still in your go-go years, your go-go years, your slow-go years, and your no-go years. While you're in your go-go years, go and do what it is that you want to do, because there are no guarantees that anything is going to be the way that we think it is. So I think we have to really grab onto life and live it with all of the energy that is available to us at the moment. And I think that's, you know, how you sort of move along in this crazy journey that we're all on together.
William, I'm a little jealous. I don't have a talking tree in South Carolina. We don't have them there. Going off of happiness, though, you know, you all self-advocate. Do you have people in your lives that are I'm going to call them your happiness accountability partners? Are there the partners in crime that you've sought out or built that help you on this journey?
I have a very dear friend who has, what do they call it, MECFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, for lack of a better word. And she's taught me a lot over the years about the smart use of energy, of being able to do things when you've got energy, and you know, when you don't, it's like you don't. I can't call her when she's making dinner because she can't multitask. But when she's fried because she's gotten an unusual lab result or something's happening, she calls me and I help her get, you know, both feet on the ground. And when my family issues have gotten out of control and I am ready to put a pillow over someone's head and regret that it's a feather pillow and not a foam pillow, I can call her and I can say, I just have to scream, I just have to vent. And I think it's so important to have somebody in your life who understands where you're coming from, who's not going to judge you, and judgmentalism or whatever is like so prevalent now. It's so important to have somebody in your life who just cares about you regardless of who you are, what's going on, whether you're in a bad mood or a good mood, whether you're sick or not, that you can be there for them and they can be there for you. So however you can find that person in your life, there's somebody that's out there. There's somebody that's out there. So however you can find that person, find them and connect with them and just love them unconditionally.
Would you raise your hand if you'd be willing to be someone else's partner of accountability for their happiness? So guys, if you haven't found that yet, you're in that room right now. Look at the hand. Keep them up for me for a second. Look around the room. There is a room of people here who are here with you today. They recognize that our journey is imperfect, and they're here to help you through the good and bad days. So find them. We still got some time together. Reach out to them. And in addition to the love and support we have in this room, I also have some resources provided by the panelists today that I want to give them an opportunity to share for when you're navigating outside of the space, outside of the community, and you need a little more. And I'll let William and Stacy talk a little bit more about this slide, and then we'll transition over to Cindy.
So it's really important to find your community of zebras, and sometimes that's hard to find. We have a pretty rare disease. It's important, check with your primary care doctor, see if they have any support services for mental health. Check with your pharmaceutical companies. They have patient programs, and not just financial programs, but where you can actually talk to somebody who's probably on the same medication about what life is like on immunoglobulin. They're usually free, or we've already paid for them with our deductible earlier in the year. So use those services. That's what they're there for. They are happy to help. Your doctors are happy to help. If you don't want to go in person or just want to keep anonymous, because sometimes interaction is exhausting, you can do online therapy. There's BetterHelp, there's Talkspace, Regain, Talkiatry, Brighter Side. There's so many good resources. Just find somebody that you're comfortable with and that you can share these things in a safe environment.
Yeah, there's two other items here, the Patient Advocate Foundation and the Patient Advocacy Network. Dealing with chronic illness, and a lot of times we all have like other, comorbid conditions, and you may have insurance, you may have deductibles, you may need to navigate through the whole craze of the healthcare system. And the PATH and PAN are two that I've used over the years, and PAN is more, it's a little more limited, but they do have, both of them have income guidelines. You have to be at something like 500% of the federal poverty level or less to be able to qualify. And that's a significant amount of money, actually. That's, probably, $70,000, $80,000 or so in income there. You can check what those guidelines are on the interweb. But like the PAN Foundation, if you are struggling with, say, graft versus host disease and you need assistance for medication, you can go on there and you can find that they may have grants of $3,500 or $7,000 for you to be able to be used for medication. PAF does the same thing. They have a little bit more to offer in terms of some of the primary immune deficiency diseases, but they do offer help with medication, so that if things aren't being covered by your insurance company, or if you're a senior like myself and you have Medicare and you can't qualify for some of the drug company related things because you've got a government benefit, you can get access to copay assistance through places like PATH and PAN both. You do have to go through a qualification process, but it's easy. It takes just minutes to do. Sometimes they'll ask for proof of income, but you can defray the cost of one or some of your medicines. You have to check them frequently because sometimes they've just got a fixed budget for each thing, and you can get into it. But that helps to relieve a lot of the stress. And they also do have, PATH in particular has people that will help you navigate through the healthcare system and help with insurance company issues and other things that are stressors that we all have to deal with chronic illness. So I would recommend those two as helpful resources.
Thank you both.
Okay, so I work for NAMI, so I have to plug them. This is like my shameless plug. But they really are an amazing organization. How many of you have heard of the National Alliance on Mental Illness? We can agree it's awesome, right? So the National Alliance on Mental Illness offers support, advocacy, education for people that have mental health conditions, their family and friends. The cool thing about NAMI is now they're kind of trickling into this physical and mental health with like certain programs. I guess there was a rare disease part of the national convention this last year, which is really hopeful for us. This is great. Youth Move National is very similar to NAMI, but it actually helps children and youth. I believe it's ages, 10 to 25 or 30 even, which does not qualify me anymore, even though I feel like a child. It's the same thing. It offers programming. It offers support. You have a lot of connections. There's a lot of programming for youth that have mental health conditions or just need someone to talk to. It's a wonderful program. You can find all of these online. And then the Trevor Project is for those that are in the LGBTQ plus community that are youth. And it's the same thing. It's support, education. It's advocating for yourself. It is a safe space for those that need that. And I think it's very important to promote all three of these because they really encompass everything with mental health. Can I say one more thing really quickly? I wanted to say, first of all, how many of you have made a new friend while you've been here? Okay, this is super exciting. I want to shout out my Skid family, okay? Because my Skid family is literally, they're my lifeline. They're my people. And when we get up to this lifeline here, this wasn't available much when we were younger. This kind of the 988. It is a wonderful program. If you have somebody here, that's awesome. If you don't have that amazing Skid family, if you don't have a new friend, if you haven't met someone, and you need to talk to someone about something that you're dealing with that is not emergency, because there are two different, you don't want to call 911 for an emergency that is a mental health crisis. A mental health crisis is something that you can call 988 for. If you have a mental health emergency where there's something really happening, then you call 911. I like if we can get the slides out to everyone for this, because I think this is really important to have. But anyway, it's a text line, it's a call line, so you just pick up the phone, call it, you can text, and someone will be there to talk to you. I've actually tried it on purpose to see how this would feel for someone who was in this crisis, and I'll tell you what, it was very, very thorough. They were very helpful. Just a wonderful program. So if you have any more questions about this afterwards, you can let me know. But I think all of these are amazing programs.
Cindy, did you want to take us through your meditative exercise?
Oh, yes.
Kind of close this out?
Is everybody ready for this? It's not mine.
If not, they should be now. We're getting going.
It's not mine, but I'll take credit for it up here, but it's not really mine. I don't even know what it's called. I'm going to call it rainbow finding. That's what the kids and I decided to call it. So everybody, let's close our eyes really quickly. I'll try to do a very soft yoga voice. So everybody close your eyes, and I want you to take a deep breath, kind of in through your nose and out through your mouth. And when you open your eyes, I want you to silently look for something that is red, and I want you to focus on that. Okay, now everybody close your eyes again. Take another deep breath, and now I'd like you to find something that is orange. Try again. We'll do it one more time. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath, or two. Now open your eyes and find something yellow. Okay, what is everybody thinking about right now? Like something yellow, right? When I do this particular mindfulness exercise, now I go through the Roy G. Biv, I go through the rainbow. When I do this particular exercise, I am not thinking about what happened 2 minutes ago, a month ago, a year ago. I'm thinking about, I gotta find something yellow. That's what I'm supposed to do right now. I'm not worried about the future because I'm staying in the moment looking for this particular color. And it's very simple. It's something you can do very silently. You don't have to do it in front of a bunch of people. It's very effective. So I believe that if it's something that you liked, take it with you, cool. If it's not, that's cool. There's many other things out there that can help. But this is one thing that really helped me that I loved, so I wanted to share it with you. Thank you.
Let's give our panelists a round of applause. Thank you. I'm going to share a couple of resources to close out our session today. If you've been to a session before, I hope these are not new to you, but just in case you just made it to us today, I want to encourage you to visit primaryimmune.org. If you have a lingering or unanswered question, we can support you through our Ask IDF platform. Additionally, in the theme of community and connection and peer support, we do offer virtual Get Connected groups where folks in our community can connect, share experiences, and receive support. We also encourage you to check out the session survey in your conference application. Now, please note you need to have this session in your schedule and your itinerary for the survey to pop up, but we'd love to hear your feedback on if this was a topic that was helpful for you. And in leaving today, I just want to thank all of our panelists from IDF for your vulnerability and bringing to light that truly going back to our session title, it's okay to be okay, and we're in this together as a community, as accountability partners, and we'll get through the good days and the bad days together. So thank you. If you have questions, I know we're low on time today, but I'm sure our presenters wouldn't mind hanging around for a few minutes to say hi, answer questions before we move on to our next session for today. So thank you. Yes.